Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the People Progressing podcast. And today I have my chiropractor on, who's basically, I like to say, saved my life, made my back and my neck feel so much better at chronic back pain and neck pain. And Dr. Rob Anderson has helped me tremendously. And he's just not a chiropractor either. He's just a good person that cares about people and cares about the world. And just excited to have you on today, Rob. And why don't you give our listeners a little bit about background, like where you grew up, what you like to do as a kid, those kind of things.
Well, Joe, first off, thank you so much for having me on your podcast here today. I'm honored. You are and have been a highlight for my team and for me over the last few years. And it's been a pleasure serving you.
Well, it's been awesome.
We've been able to do a couple podcasts together back in 2020, heck, and I think in 2021.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
To see how much you've grown is great, serving people and really getting the word out about how to be more successful in life. So right there. But really to give you a little bit of a background of me in a really short paragraph. I grew up and was born and raised in Aurora, Colorado, and went to Rangeview High School out there, graduated quite a few years ago. Right about just after graduation, I was going to be I wanted to be a medical doctor and be a cardiac surgeon. And it was probably about early into my middle of my freshman year at college at University of Colorado in Boulder. I was skiing at Loveland Ski Resort and went off a jump, landed head first, and basically my lower back, my bottom was glued to the back of my head or stuck there. I ended up breaking 2 bones in my back and kind of went the normal approach and went to the emergency room and was laid up in bed on muscle relaxers and Percocet at the time. Got up after that week and of literally not doing anything and really was not much better and super sore, kind of back and forth to doctors for a better part of about 1.5 to 2 years, and started getting a little frustrated with, my successes. It kind of had changed my identity of who I was able to be now. Really couldn't even mow the lawn, and started volunteering with a chiropractor. And no kidding aside, all kidding aside, she literally made me get x-rays and lay down on a table and performed the very first adjustment on me. And I knew I went home that day and I felt light, I felt different. And I knew I went home that day and told my spouse that we are going to move to wherever I've got to move to be able to be a chiropractor and be able to provide that miracle, hopefully, to someone else in the future. And now 23 years later, we've been in practice and really get to allow people's bodies to do what they're supposed to do and to heal correctly. And so that has been, I'm super thankful for that, really that whole experience. It's changed my whole trajectory on who I am.
So that one piece of adversity that happened in your life, that ski accident, you took that adversity and you made that and you turned that into something that's positive in your life. What kind of suggestions you give people who are going through some of the similar things that you went through there? Because I can imagine that you laying in that bed in the hospital with 2 broken bones in your back, you're probably trying to figure out what's next, why me, all these things popping in your head. What can you tell our listeners that would help them through some adversity that they might be going through as well?
I think that the biggest thing for me was, going through the next 1.5 years of just not understanding why I wasn't healing correctly. And, Joe, you grew up as a baseball player. I grew up as a baseball player. I used to ride BMX. I was used to being an athlete. I was also used to being in some level of discomfort. And after that injury happened, it was a different level. It wasn't like I could just suck it up anymore. It wasn't like the Advil was going to help take away the pain like it did for the shoulder for playing 60 games in a summer. It was a change in identity. So I would really say it wasn't until I got adjusted and I really found out what was going on with my spine that I then started having a change in what I knew was possible. It really allowed me to put the term that we've all heard, faith over fear. It really allowed me to put that into practice. And each and every day I try to live that. I do know that my body is supposed to heal. I know that yours is, and everybody out there is supposed to heal. And if we can take the fear aside, take the why me aside and put that on the back burner, things happen to us or for us for a reason. And so I like to think of that 2 versus 4. And if we can think of why is this? What am I going to learn out of this? What do I need to get from this experience? And have faith versus fear that it's here for a reason. It's not in my way, it's on my way, I think is one good way of putting that.
Oh, that's so powerful. I love that. Because I think too many of us look at our situations as, why is this happening to me? And the way you just put that in terms of why not, basically, why not this, and this happened for me so that I can grow and progress in my life. And look what you've done with that. And we'll get back into that here in a second. Let's go back a little bit to high school.
Yeah.
You played, who did you play for in high school as your baseball coach?
Multiple coaches. Scheibler was a coach out there. Steele was one of my mentor coaches for a lot of years. And Tony Annalini took over the program when I was going to be a senior. I think about that time I was kind of burned out with baseball. Did a little bit of a recruiting visit to Denver University before they lost their baseball program. So that's back in '90, I think it was. So yeah, played for all those guys out there.
And what kind of influence? I'll ask this question: who was the big influence in your life growing up?
I'd have to say my parents. My dad ran started up a business from scratch as an entrepreneur, doing home construction and remodeling, and watching him do his thing. Even though I learned a lot from also the way he also did things, which I try to do a lot different now.
Yeah.
But he was always home and able to take me to baseball practice. He was a coach for all those younger years. So I really have to go to my parents. My mom was the stability figure in the family. And so really to learn from them and to try to model as well as I could, or change things that I wanted to change later on. I knew I wanted to have a family, be a family man. And I knew I wanted my kids, wanted to be involved in their lives, but also be an entrepreneur and start a business and run a very successful business where I could serve people the way I wanted to be able to serve them. Probably it's the biggest things early on.
Well, and that's what you're all about, service, and we'll get into that a little bit too. Let's get into your entrepreneurship and what you like to do. You have such an unbelievable culture at your practice. What drives that culture? What when you started your practice, did you sit there and think, this is what I want out of our practice? This is the culture I want. And how did you build that, and how do you live it?
I think you probably start early on in practice with a vision and a purpose. And we just tried to live that out each and every day. I knew that I was not going to take away from my family to be able to have a successful business. So I knew those were 2, heavy cornerstones, was family and service in my office. And I just try to merge those things together. And one of the biggest compliments we get often is that our practice does feel like family. And it's just kind of how I wanted to make that feel. And we developed it. We just did it.
Well, and you live it. I think that's the important thing. Is I think a lot of people kind of have some of the same type purposes in their business, where they want to serve people and they want to help people and they want to do this for people and all that. But then when the tough times come, it's hard to stay in that purpose.
Yeah.
You live that purpose on a daily basis. And that's why that culture just comes out every time you're in there. And I'll second what you said. It is like being in a family when you walk in your office, and I love being there. And it's because you live it on a daily basis. And I think that's where people got to understand, is when you have your purpose in your culture, that you have to live by it, and your culture is what saves you. You protect your culture, so your culture protects you. Now let's get into your chiropractor. Your biggest saying is the power is on.
Yeah.
The power is on. And I love that, because when I get off the table after you adjusted me and you say the power's on, I'm ready to roll. Tell us about the power is on. What does that actually mean, so people can understand the medical part of that a little bit?
Yeah, so I really didn't learn I didn't, learn the term until probably some years being a chiropractor. But once I learned what that term was all about, I knew it was going to be something that I was going to use to let people know that what we just did right there now is going to allow your body to be able to heal. And Joe, I felt that my first adjustment.
Awesome.
And although I was scared to death, to lay on that table and get adjusted the first time, I was deathly afraid that this woman was going to break me again. And I felt that adjustment, and it was, I don't know how to describe it, but when you're in that much discomfort that's chronic now of 2 years, it was like there was taking a dam off of a river and letting a river flow again, letting a waterfall fall down, and just opening up, allowing your body to open up and be able to have identity, have durability and stability. And it took me 2 years of getting corrected to have things fixed in my spine. But that's what that means to me is the power on, allowing your body to be able to, your brain to connect with your body, to every cell in your body, so that they can do what they're supposed to do. We don't need to tell them to do their things. The brain just does all that automatically. And that's the coolest part, is it's going to heal as long as there is not any breakage, not any disruption in that communication.
And you talk about you had wanted to be a doctor, a medical doctor. Now you're a chiropractor. I'm not smart enough to know the difference. All I know is you help me every time I come in. What was the shift? How hard was that shift for you, Rob? I mean, it sounded like you were already kind of into a career when this happened, and then you went home and told your wife, we're moving, we're going to go do this. What made you take that risk and go do that? I think that's an awesome story.
Yeah. For me, it was, I grew up very much in a medical model. I had strep throat at tons of times when I was a kid. My dad always had cluster headaches. My mom had migraines constantly. I grew up in that model, which probably many of us do, where you take a drug for something when something doesn't feel good. And, I there for a while, I hid that my throat hurt when I was 12, 13 years old. I hid that I thought I had strep throat, because I remember them telling me, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to get the shot in your butt.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
No good, man. I was not a shot guy. I was not a med guy. I never gelled well with that. Take a drug to fix something. It wasn't going to fix anything in my head. So anyway, I hid that for, probably a couple of years, that on and off going strep throat. And it turned out I went in for a routine physical probably when I was 12 or 13 years old. And the strep had actually gotten to my kidneys and was eating away my kidneys.
Oh, wow.
I had, just a nasty, really overall strep infection in my body. So I had to be on antibiotics for I think it was 30 days or 45 days when I was a kid. And at that point in time, I really was just like, man, I want to be a doctor. I want to be better, but I just don't buy into the drug mentality. I don't buy into the quick fix. And then as soon as I went to the chiro, and it taught me what the nervous system is supposed to do. It was a dramatic, culture shift, because my family was, chiropractic is quackery. Yeah. And as my mom is taking Fiorinol every single day for a migraine, and my dad I see him with an ice pack still, back in those days, always on his head, like every day he got home from work. And I knew that they were not having their problem solved, but there's got to be a solution, because I don't believe that God made us imperfectly. I really don't. I believe that our bodies have everything on the inside to heal most of the time. And if we don't put too much of a toxin into them, or if we don't break them down bad enough, but if we actually take care of the little things that happen, it doesn't become a big problem later. So that whole philosophy and that mentality made much more sense to me when I learned what the nervous system is supposed to do, and then what chiropractic really does.
That's really interesting. And talk a little bit about putting stuff in your body. So I know you're a pretty good healthy food eater and so forth. So give our listeners kind of an example of some of the things that are really good for us to eat and put in our body.
I would like to think that I'm very good at eating, but I'm really, I like to eat what I want to eat. But I think if you had to look at more of a program to what seems like it works very, very well for many, many people, from the cardiovascular system to the neurological system to really how our joints and our bodies are designed to be, would be more of a paleo aspect of a program. And what that means is eating lots of vegetables. And now for me, I hate cooked vegetables. I mean, I do, Joe, I despise cooked vegetables, but I love salad. I love raw vegetables, and then a lot of protein. So that can be fish. It can be, for me, it's a lot of literally cow. It's elk meat. It's antelope meat. I really try to put the good, clean things in as much as I possibly can. That way, when I want to go out to and have Italian food, that I can. And I know I've put the good stuff in me most of the time. So you can go out and you can put other things in. It doesn't have to be straight paleo. And I just, that's the way I live my life.
And I'm going to go back into let's dive back into Rob, because you fascinate me. What
too complimentary, brother?
What makes you tick? What makes you get up in the morning and get excited about coming into your practice? What really gets you going?
There's probably a few things that do, and I would have to say, if I really had to boil it down to a couple, it's number one, that I have an expectation of that I want to see somebody's miracle every single day. And even if it's just a small miracle, I expect to see miracles every day. And I think as people, we should expect to have our bodies be the miracle. So that'd be one, and we can elaborate on that later if you want to. But I would say number two is freedom. I love family, and I want to be able to do the things that I want to be able to do with them whenever I want to. So in order to do that, I do have to have a practice or a business that allows me to be able to do those things. I never like to look at the success of a business based on just the numbers from a financial perspective, but the reality is money can be used as a tool, but I need to have great results, and I need to give great results in order to have that value be over and above what somebody happens to pay. So I guess in a nutshell, knowing that my body is supposed to be able to allow me to live, and then freedom, being able to go off and go see my grandkids in Texas whenever I want to be able to go out on a nice hike with my wife and have my body be able to function like it's going to be able to function. That's truly freedom for me.
Yeah. I know you do do you still ski? I know you do water ski, don't you?
I haven't skied a bunch in the last 10 or 15 years, but I'm trying to learn how to do some wakeboarding, trying to get a little bit better at that. I do love shooting sports. So, I'm at the range or at a class probably at least once, if not twice, every single week, where I go and use a handgun or an AR and practice my skills there, and just make sure that I'm safe and I'm efficient, but I'm having fun.
Living life to the fullest.
Try to, yes.
And I think it's a really important thing too, Rob, is you get older in life and what you provide people, because there were times when you talked about hiking with your wife and wakeboarding and all those things, your body has to be able to handle those things, to be able to do those things. And what I want people to understand is what you do is you help people so they can still do that even as we get older. Yeah. Because a lot of people, as they get older, they kind of start shutting down because their body's not working the way it used to. It's not doing the things that they used to think it could do. They can't walk. They can't do hikes. They can't do some of the things that they used to do. But what you're providing is them an opportunity to go back and now do that, even at an advancing age. I'm 56 now, and I can go out and do walks and all that kind of stuff. A couple of years ago, before I saw you, wasn't easy for me to do that with all the sports I played, my back, my shoulder. And I think that's huge. So I want people to understand that piece of it too, that you can live a long, healthy life and do the things that you love to do when you want to do it. Is that kind of fair to say that?
I think it really is. Joe, I think if we can, maybe if you take this phrase, helping you find the health that you've lost and then keep it once you find it.
Yeah.
And what that means to me is, some of us are, I was a Yahoo in high school. I
Yeah.
remember the, fights and baseball and sports and
Yeah.
just tearing up my body and thinking that we're going to be invincible and live at the same capacity forever. The reality is we have traumas, whether it's a car accident or it's sports or it's doing dumb things that I did. And if you don't allow those things to heal correctly, then what happens is they heal incorrectly. And so then we get to 30 or 40 and we think, man, I can't do all the things I would like to do when I was 20. We don't do anything about it then maybe. And then it's 50. And, now you're suddenly like to where you can't even go for a walk and it's enjoyable. All those cumulative traumas, cumulative toxins, cumulative things that have maybe started to weigh us down. It feels like you have a backpack full of bricks or backpack full of weights.
Yeah.
It's just suddenly, taking you into this dread mode of, I used to have an identity that I was going to be here when I was 45 or 50 or 60 or 70. And it starts chipping away at what that identity really is. And then all of a sudden it's a vast difference from what you saw yourself as. So yeah, to circle back to that, I think if the earlier you start on making sure that you're taking care of some of those previous things, maybe not even an injury, but the previous traumas, as soon as you start chipping away at some of those, you can actually rejuvenate and heal correctly those things that have healed incorrectly for time and take years off of stress of your body.
And there's no doubt about it. I've started skiing and I never skied and I never thought I could ski. I'll be honest with you, with my back and so forth. I never thought I could ski. And I go up and I ski and I get done. My back doesn't hurt. And I'm like floored. I'm like, I can't believe this. So that's
like a new lease on life, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable because I didn't think I would be a skier at my age, and now I feel like I'm doing what I should have been doing when I was in my 20s and 30s. But I don't know if I could have when then because my back was so bad. But it's kind of an interesting concept to think about because what we're trying to say is we want people to live long, healthy lives, do the things that they enjoy doing as they get older. Because that's when you have more time to do them, right? So, that's when we want them to get out and wakeboard and do the things that you're doing. So let's get into your charity work. You do a lot of stuff for charity. You've spoken at a lot of places and you do some charity stuff through your office and stuff. What drives you to do that?
I think, growing up, at the time growing up in Aurora and I know that my parents, worked as hard as they could. And I would say that, we had we had the bats and the balls and those kinds of things to be able to go out and play ball or, ride a bike. But we weren't experiencing a ton of different things that would cost a ton of money. Now, I didn't know that we were not affluent enough to be able to do some of those fun things. But I would say that, a driving motivator is being able to give back or give something more. Maybe it's a like at Christmas for us, our toy drive. That week we do our toy drive is one of the more fun weeks in the office. And what we get to see is that our practice members, our community, cares just as much about the little kids as I do. And so to know that there's going to be a kiddo on Christmas Eve that might not have received anything at all, and they're actually going to receive a toy from from one of our practice members, that gave through us, and then we're able to move that through, is it's just a really cool experience. And I think it's going to change a kid's life. They might wonder, why did I receive this? And if some point in time they get to, the message of what Christmas is, and that generosity and being able to provide something without any expectation of something in return, is if we all had a little bit more of that, I think we'd be in a different world right now.
Yeah, it'd be a lot better place, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Rob. How much does your faith play into your practice, your life, your family, your community involvement, all that? How big of a part does faith play in all of that?
I'd like to say it's part of every single thing that I think about every day. And it's not. I'd like to be able to grow in that even more. But faith is, honoring God and everything we do in the office is my number one core value in the office. And so, we have 4 different core values, but that's at the top. And if we're doing that, then I know we're in the right place. And so, if one of us in the office, if we do something where we're wondering, should I have done that? Well, if you can stick back and that follows that core value, then it's right. I mean, we have to tweak how you did it so that it makes more efficiency standpoint. But if we're honoring that one principle or that one core value, then I know we're in the right spot. And really for us, for me, that is where I want to try and live every day. When I wonder, I made a mistake there. Was I asking for help in prayer? And I didn't, and I made a mistake and I fell flat on my face. I guess what I like to think of is that if I am trying to walk in those footsteps each and every day, then my mistakes won't be as great, or they were mistakes that I was supposed to learn in order to have another opportunity in the future.
That's awesome. What are the other 3 core values?
So our second one is to have service that is absolutely excellent. So allowing our practice members to understand what vitality is and being able to live out their strength in their days, but to be able to provide that level of service that allows them to experience vitality. I mean, I think in business, I believe that most business owners really want to provide their service to more people. And if we can do so at a level that exceeds what a practice member, a potential patient would expect in the office, if we can exceed that expectation, then I know that we've done a great job. Our third core value is to expand in abundance. That means to be able to give more toys at Christmas, to hire more people, to get more people jobs that can hopefully help them find a passion with health and with vitality and a drug-free living. That's a big one for us as well. And then really to expect our bodies and expect our lives we're pursuing excellence every day is number 4. So I recognize, Joe, that yesterday I'm not as good, I wasn't as good as I am today, and that tomorrow I should even be better, but I've got to put intent into that training, that practice, my skills with my hands, my communication. And I do expect all the rest of our people in our office to expect excellence as well. Not perfection, because none of us are going to be perfect. No. But excellence, and really striving for excellence all the time.
That is so awesome. When you talk about, I looked on your website and it said you were the captain of your sports chiropractic club in college. Is that right? What was that? Was that at CU?
No, that was at chiropractic school in Oregon.
Okay. And
I was the captain of that program, it was pretty fun.
So because I look at you as a leader, and I look at you as a leader, not just in your practice, but in our community. And this is all revolving around, Rob, and I want to bring this full circle. Everything that you've talked about today involves service of others. And to me, that is what drives Rob Anderson, is that service to and for others. When you've thought about doing all of the stuff that you've done in your life, you go out and you speak to a group, or you go give chiropractic care to somebody that can't afford it, or you do something like that. What drives you to do that? I mean, is it something that's inside of you that was ingrained inside of you from your childhood, from your parents, or was it something that evolved over time? Or because I want a more service orientated world. So how can we help that? How can you help people get into that kind of mode?
Well, that's a big question right there. If I had to point to one moment, I don't know. But Joe, I think deeply in my heart, I think there are, I don't see enough leaders that are doing that. And I think maybe many years ago, it kind of, maybe it rubbed me the wrong way that, that I did not have a mentor at that point in time of somebody that literally, wanted to have a clothing drive or a toy drive or go out and speak and try to change lives. I just wasn't exposed to that. I'm sure they were out there, but I was not exposed to that. And I really felt like, man, that's what I want to do. I really think that the expectation for health or for family, maybe it wasn't talked about, or again, it wasn't in my circles to where I heard of that. And that's what I knew I wanted. I wanted to try to be the best dad I could be, the best husband I could be, and be able to have a practice where people, their lives changed when we expected them to change. And, I recognize that that chiropractic care, I cannot help everyone. But I guess seeing a, real, small story for you, when you see a baby that is, so unhappy from colic and crying all the time that it's changing the whole family environment. Older brother is, putting their hands in their ears because they cannot handle the baby crying, and mom's going crazy. Dad, I mean, just everybody is on edge because a little baby does not feel good and is letting everybody know it. To be able to put my hands on that baby and have certainty that I know that I can change their nervous system. I can open it up so that baby can do some healing, and then and see that come to fruition within a couple short weeks of time and change a family dynamic. And there's those miracles in all of us and all of our families. We're not all broken, but we're not all perfect, and we're not living out identity. And so if I can have just a small impact in that, Joe, to see some of those miracles happen kind of puts extra, faith, power into, man, let's just see what happens. Let's put my hands on this little baby and, know that there's certainty that we're going to open things up, and then, pray for a miracle, but expect a miracle to happen. And when you see those things happen, it's fuel. It's my fuel.
Yeah. Because you want to do more. You want to go out and serve more. Yeah. So once you start serving, you want to serve more. I have a saying that says you find your purpose when your purpose is greater than yourself. And the more you serve people, the more purpose you have in helping others and serving others, the more gratification and the more peace that you have in your own life in doing that. And it's got to feel good when someone leaves your office after you doing a session with them, and that they feel so much better than when they came in. That gratification for you has got to just be huge, doesn't it? I mean, I can't imagine that.
It really is. And maybe some of the alternative, for me is that I just also know, Joe, that there are people that are on their knees at night praying for a solution for something that they have going on. And again, I'm not an answer to prayers. I don't want to even think about that at all. I'm not, but if their body is the answer, and we just got to open things up and let them again heal, that their alternative when you're on your knees praying for a solution is drugs. It's addictive, it's addictive medications. It's ones that have significant side effects. And I want to tell you, I'm not against drugs, but I think they're far overly used and abused. And if that person can have a solution that's non-drug based, that knows that it's not going to be something that's going to be a dependency now later in life, then I'm all about it. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll find another doc that can do it, because that needs to be something that has to change.
Your ability to put other people first is amazing to me. I mean, and it shows throughout this whole podcast, because everything you've talked about is about helping someone else feel better, and people you don't know. I mean, when you go out and speak to people about a healthier life and doing this chiropractic care and all this, you don't know those people. And you're just trying to help our community and our world be healthy, because you also know that the more healthy we all are, the more peaceful we are, the more relaxed we are, the more content we are. And that will help everyone. And I just commend you on that. I'm going to ask you 3 more questions.
Okay.
And they deal with my book, the 3 Ps, finding your purpose, perspective, and passion. And I ask every one of my guests what those 3 things are for you, so people can get an understanding more and get some more insight. What is your purpose in life, Rob?
Now, are you asking for my business purpose, or kind of me?
You, both, all of it.
My purpose is to make an impact in everybody that I'm around, make a positive impact in everybody that I'm around.
Okay. And what about as your purpose as a father?
My purpose as a father is to allow I guess not written down, but allow my children to experience life to the absolute fullest. And knowing that they control their actions each and every day. And they can we can all choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing, but to see my kids grow up and also make an impact and have a legacy, that they actually have the legacy. I don't need that. I used to say, 10 years ago, I want to be a legacy for my kids and have my kids talk about me. I don't want that anymore. I want them actually to have people talking about them in the future. And so it's gone bigger picture.
That's huge. Okay. And we're going to skip over perspective. We'll get back to that in a second. What's your passion in life?
My passion is to have fun, be free, live life to the absolute fullest, to live out my own identity. What I see, that who I am and what I want to be. I don't expect to do anything different than that.
And I think it's clear that you want other people to have that same freedom.
Absolutely.
That's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Okay. And I say purpose equals passion and passion equals purpose, and yours does. And what holds it together is your perspective, because things happen in our life. Like we go off a ski jump and we land head first and we break 2 bones in our back. And those kind of things change a lot of people's perspective, a lot of times in a negative way. Yeah. What is your perspective that holds your purpose and passion together?
I would say I'm going to circle right back to what we've talked about quite a bit, is expecting miracles. Expect for your life to be better than it is, but you've got to put some intent into it. We've got to be prepared. We've got to practice. We've got to pursue excellence. And I think when you do all of those things, we can expect miracles to happen in our life. We can expect that my purpose is truly going to be tied into what I see going on around me. But doesn't mean it's without work. It's going to take some, getting your knuckles busted. It is going to take working hard. But if you can see that where you want to be and then live today at 100%, Joe, not living only for tomorrow or in tomorrow, but really being 100% present with the people that are around you today, right now, it's going to go in that direction.
Beautiful.
Truly believe it.
Yeah, I truly believe it too. And I think what you just said is huge, because that perspective is what, to be honest with you, a lot of us need, because too many of us get into a negative situation. And I have a saying, it's real simple. A lot of people say it, but you can be bitter or you can be better. And let's circle back to your ski accident. Real easily, you could have been bitter. Real easily, you could have just kind of, I don't know, give up on life. I don't know if that's the right term, but you could have been bitter about life and what happened to you and why me and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You turn that into a full lifetime's work of helping people be happy and healthy and giving them the chance to have that freedom that you have as your purpose. And I think that's a beautiful story, and it's a beautiful way to look at it. And I lied. I have one more question. How important is it to live in your purpose every day? Because I think some people, I look at it like this, Rob, our purpose is kind of like in a bubble. And there's always these things, these arrows trying to burst our bubble and get at our purpose and take us out of our purpose.
Yeah.
How do you stay in that bubble? How do you stay in that purpose every day? Because I've been going to you for 2 years now. I never have seen you out of your purpose one time in that office. How do you stay in there?
Well, Joe, I mean, to be really straight up with you, you know what? I think if we're honest, and I'm just going to tell you, for me, I am not on purpose every single minute of every single day.
No one is. Yeah.
Right. And I do believe that it's part of my purpose that, that people need to see what you can do if you stay intent and if you stay focused and if you stay at 100% present. And when people can see that around you, I think it's contagious, it's attractive, and it makes people want to be better with themselves too, or expect more, pursuing those things. And contagious, in this world we're living in right now, contagious is not a good word, but using it as a positive slant to it.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
I think positivity and expectation and the pursuit of excellence, I think it is contagious. I think it really, really is.
That's beautiful. Rob, I want to thank you. You've inspired a lot of people. You've changed some lives today. That's what we do this for. That's why it's called the People Progressing. You've helped people progress and maybe think about some of the stuff that they've gone through and so forth. And how can people get a hold of you and your clinic and your practice?
Gosh, Joe, there's quite a few ways, but probably the easiest is just to pick up the phone. You can talk to me. You can talk to one of my team members. Our phone number is 303-346-7095. You can shoot a text there. You can shoot us an email. You can find our website at roadtovitality.com. Lots of different ways you can touch base with us. And I would just encourage you, if you are thinking about something that's just not quite working right with you or someone of a family member, the sooner you take action, the better things will be and the better the outcome is. And Joe, I cannot thank you enough. I know we've had a few of these podcasts, over the years, back when we couldn't even figure out how to set up the Facebook Live. Goodness, that was like April or May of 2020, when the world felt like it was crazy. The thing that I see from you is that you are serving thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day. And for you and your book and what you're trying to do here, and you change one person's life, that's going to change 10, that's going to change another 10. You're talking about changing the world, Joe. And that is, I commend you for that.
Well, thank you. That's what we're trying to do, right? That's what both of us are trying to do. That's why I love coming in there and seeing you and not getting just adjusted, but just to see and get that energy from you and Jennifer and your staff. And Jennifer's awesome too. She was the one filming our first Facebook Lives with the phone and had to sit there for
her arms were shaking.
Yeah, and she's the nicest human being on the planet. And your whole staff is. I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me and what you've done for our community and what you've done for our world. It's pretty amazing. And it's all about that service piece for you. That's what's in your heart, is serving people. That's what drives you. That's what drives your practice. And we need more of that. So I commend you on that. And I thank you for coming on today, Rob. This has been awesome as usual. And we might even have to do it again.
It's totally my pleasure, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of the People Progressing podcast with Dr. Rob Anderson. What a great man he is, and what he does for people is just amazing. Again, my name is Joe White, and this is the People Progressing Podcast. If you need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through CoachJoeWhiteConsulting.com. You can email me at CoachJoeWhite97@gmail.com. Love to come speak to your group, work with your group on leadership and team building and culture building and so forth, and just really having a good time. I'm running a Vistage peer group now, and if you're interested in joining our Vistage CEO business leader peer group, just let me know. I'd love to have you in our group, and we have a great group of leaders going right now, and just want to keep building that group out. So have a great day and keep progressing.